won the course.
Yes. Okay, we have been studying from the book of Acts, and we have our visual for Acts down there. And do you remember what the book of Acts tells us about?
The first Christians.
The first Christians, and how the church spread. And then the first part talked about Peter and his ministry, and the last part talked about Paul, and that's where we are. And last week, Paul was arrested. Well, he was arrested a couple weeks ago. But he was arrested, he was put in prison, he talked to governors, he talked to the king of Judah and his wife, and he appealed to Caesar, because his other option was to go to Jerusalem and be judged by the Jews, who were planning to ambush and kill him on the way to Jerusalem. So he appealed to Caesar, which was his right as a Roman citizen, and he was put under the charge of a soldier named Julius, a centurion, who took charge of him and some other prisoners, and they hired their way on a boat, and they traveled. Now, I'm going to sit down so I can reach the map here. They started here, about here at Caesarea, and one way that we know that the Bible is true is because of some of the details it puts in that someone writing something later or making up stories probably would not have included. The Bible tells us the names of all the ports they stopped at on the way to Rome. They were heading for over here to Rome. We know that they went, at one point, they went along the southern shore of Crete, the island of Crete, and while they were traveling, they ran into bad weather. And the weather got so bad that all the soldiers and all the people on the boat wouldn't eat anything. They were too afraid to eat. Because they were afraid of eating, they were too afraid of dying to bother eating. And Paul had told them to stay in one of the ports and to stay for winter there, because he really felt an unction from God that it would be dangerous for them to go further, but nobody listened to him. So they went on, and somewhere they hit a bad storm, and I'm going to turn my arrow, it points to where today's lesson took place. The storm was so bad that the soldiers, or the sailors, not the soldiers, started to lower the lifeboat. They were pretending to lighten the ship so it wouldn't sink, but they were going to get in the lifeboat and get away because they knew the ship was going to fall apart. And Paul told them, if they get in the boat, you guys are going to all die. So the soldiers cut the boat away and let it go. So everyone was on the ship. And Paul told them, you know what, you guys haven't eaten anything in days, but I had a visit from an angel tonight. And that angel said that God is going to give me, as a favor to me, the life of everybody on the ship, but the ship is going to be wrecked. And so I want you all to eat something so you have strength. And they did. And then they threw the rest of the food overboard so the ship would be lighter. And they did shipwreck, and the ship broke apart. Those who could swim, swam for shore. Those who couldn't swim grabbed parts of the boat and floated into shore. And the Bible tells us the island's name was Malta, which is this little island right here, under Sicily, which is under Italy. Which is where we're supposed to be. And when they got to the island, it was raining and it was cold, and the natives came out and brought some wood, which I don't have wood, but I have a fire. And they were building a fire for everyone to warm up with and dry off with. And Paul gathered some wood to put on the fire, and when he did, a snake bit it. And he shook the snake off in the fire. The natives said, this guy must be a murderer. And the gods, because they didn't know about the true God, the gods are trying to kill him. They tried to kill him in the ocean, and now they're trying to kill him with this snake, because that's a deadly poisonous snake. And so they watched him. And he just went on normal. They expected he was going to fall over dead. because it was that poisonous of a snake. When he didn't fall over dead, they decided he was a god instead. And talk about changing your mind. He prayed for the leader's father, and he was healed. And they spent 3 months there on the island, and Paul preached to the people there. And I assume he brought a lot of them to the Lord. But they spent the rest of the winter there on that island. When they were done with that, they went, it's really cool, I looked at Google Maps. They sailed up here, between this here, and they hit about in here, and then up to Rome, where they were supposed to be, where they were going for. Paul was kept under house arrest, and the Jews came to see him, and they said, no one's told us what you're charged with, we don't know what's going on. But he taught them about Jesus, and the Christians that were already in Rome came and visited him frequently. So I'm going to put this. He was shipwrecked there. Okay, he was shipwrecked there, right side up, and he was in prison in Rome, up here. Okay? Kind of give you a general feel of where things happened. But God took care of him through this whole thing. He watched out for him, and that's our same God. Things happen in our lives. Paul still had to go through the storm, but God took care of him through the storm. We have storms in our lives, and God takes care of us through our storms. We'd still face the storms without God. We just wouldn't have him to help us. But I'm glad I've got God. So let's sing a song. Okay? We are soldiers in God's army. So can you march? No? I'm in the Lord's army. I'm in the Lord's army. I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery.